Welcome back to the Toffee Blues, your source for all things Everton. I'm Ollie Hayes, and today I'm bringing the Everton news 24/7 for Wednesday, the 23rd of April. So let's get straight into it. And today's headline comes from Everton themselves, and they've confirmed the appointment of Christopher Sarafim to the club's ownership group, Roundhouse Capital Holdings Limited. And Christopher Sarafin will come onto the board and hold the role of board observer. This one sort of come out the blue a little bit. I think the Freaking Group have definitely wanted to ramp up their appointment process in terms of their structure for the board. And this has obviously come since that we know we're going to be a Premier League team next season, but. In sort of various interviews and various club channels, both sides were very high for praise of each other. Sarafin praised the Freakin family and Mark Watts especially, saying that he was looking forward to work with the pair of them. And also Dan Freakin, he was saying that he will bring valuable wisdom to the project at Everton. So just a little bit more of a background on Sarafim. His family company, Sarafim International Management, manages over $23 billion worth of assets across the world, and his personal wealth is more than $3.7 billion. So it just shows the sort of ilk that the Freaking Group want to bring into their board, and sort of the expertise that they want to bring to the board. I think it shows that we want to be run as a well-run football club, a properly run football club, which is something we've not seen for a very long time at Everton Football Club. But the Guardian have also reported that the Freaking Group are looking to bring in more investors with specific skill sets. So this kind of matches this profile of the specific skill sets that the Freaking Group are looking for, rather than celebrity investors, for example, which we've seen with so many different clubs. For the likes of Bournemouth, for example, they've got Michael B. Jordan on that sort of investor payroll kind of thing. But I think the Freaking Group are looking to go down a more professional route, shall we say, with specific skill sets to aid the running of the football club. But it's definitely exciting. I think it's good news to see that we're finally making appointments to the board. Obviously, the CEO thing is kind of all wrapped up now. I think it's going to be Angus Kinnear coming into the club at the end of the season. Obviously he's going to be leaving Leeds United. I'm going to get onto another topic surrounding Angus Kinnear and Leeds United a little bit later in this news video. But as I said before, I think it's just good that we're seeing sort of a professional approach to the way we're setting up our board. And as I said before, the specific skill set things I think is a massive thing for the board and how we want to operate as a football club. But on the topic of the board, this comes from the Guardian, and they've reported that departing Everton director of football Kevin Thelwell is in pole position to take up the role at Rangers in Glasgow. And this also comes hand in hand with the news from Ben Jacobs and Alex Crook of TalkSport. They've reported that Nick Hammond is set to follow Angus Kinnear from Leeds United to work under the new project at Everton. He's currently in a recruitment consultancy role at Leeds United, so can't help but feel Angus Kinnear is something to do with this appointment. Obviously, Nick Hammond will be coming to follow in the footsteps of Angus Kinnear and come to Everton in the summer. The report did say that it wouldn't be a like-for-like replacement with Kevin Thelwell. Obviously, he is a director of football, but we know David Moyes is a kind of manager that likes to be very hands-on with his transfers. So whether it's a kind of differing role in how he operates, it's obviously yet to be seen. But obviously, we're getting the news that it's closer to happening with Nick Hammond coming to the football club. But moving away from the board now and moving away from recruitment, and we'll talk about on the pitch matters and recruitment of players. Italian outlet Tutto Mercato, they've reported our interest in David HANCKO, the Feyenoord centre-back, ahead of the summer transfer window. Feyenoord would be willing to sell for around a fee of around 34 million euros. That's sort of the fee that's being touted around. Bayer Leverkusen, Atletico Madrid, and Juventus are all interested. Obviously, it's a player that's playing consistently in European football. I think it's a profile of player that we need to be targeting. Had a very good game against Manchester City for Feyenoord at the Etihad earlier this season in the Champions League. So if you can replicate performances like that, I'll be very happy to see him in an Everton shirt. But as I said before, I feel like it's the right kind of profile of player, a player that's consistently playing well in Europe and playing in a league that's maybe not considered in the top five leagues. Can we unearth those kind of diamonds from those lower leagues in Europe, so to speak? I think it's the right profile of player. But elsewhere, Tutto Juve, they've reported ours and West Ham's interest in 22-year-old Juventus right back Nicolo Savona. Juventus will apparently sell for a fee of around 25 million euros. Again, I feel like it's the right profile of player that we're going after. It's a player playing for a top team in Europe. maybe that's fallen a bit out of favour. You look at the type of player like Dean Howson was for Bournemouth, for example, fell a little bit out of favour at Juventus last season, has come to the Premier League and absolutely set the world alight. So if Savona can be anything like Dean Howson, a similar signing, I'll be over the moon. But as I said before, similar to the David HANCKO interest, I feel like it is the right kind of profile that we should be going for. But finally, this is a rumour that keeps popping up, and Czech outlet MF Dinez, they have reported our interest in Thomas Souček, and that Thomas Souček has actually threatened to leave West Ham if Graham Potter keeps leaving him on the bench for the East London side. David Moyes is obviously interested in a reunion, which we've seen so many times in recent weeks. I think for the right price, to bring Thomas Souček into the squad, I think it would be a smart bit of business. Obviously, David Moyes trusts him massively. It's an assured pair of hands in that midfield, and obviously, if the likes of Idrissa Gana Gueye were to leave or Abdoulaye Doucouré, it would leave big holes in that midfield. Obviously, we know we're going to have a big summer rebuild, so you're going to need youth as well as experience. So I think Thomas Souček really fits that bill for experience. And obviously, David Moyes massively trusts him and did massively trust him in his time at West Ham. But that is all for today's news. Let me know your thoughts on obviously the changes to the board, the appointment of Christopher Sarafim. Are you excited by that? And also the potential appointment of Nick Hammond coming from Leeds United to follow in the footsteps of Angus Kinnear. And also let me know your thoughts on the potential incomings of David HANCKO, Nicolo Savona, and also Thomas Souček. But that is all from me today. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll speak to you soon.